Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. Before I start, I just want to say there's going to be a poll in the top right of your screen, so if you can vote on that, that would be amazing. But for now, let's sit back, relax and enjoy some malicious compliance. Angering the chef? So you want no food at all? Back in the 80s, I was a cook sergeant during my military service. Most of the dialogue came from my memories. English is not my native language. Our kitchen was run by a very old master sergeant. Grumpy old dude, old but with a lot of muscles. If you messed up the meals, he would give you a nice paddling with a ladle or just throw something at you. Highest possible standard for food quality. Nothing burned, everything as fresh as possible. Not overcooked, nor undercooked, and no slacking in the kitchen. Imagine Gunnery Sergeant Hartman and Gordon Ramsay had a child. That would be him. He could lift two 25kg, 100 pounds in total, sacks of potato at once with one hand. And he was the oldest guy at the campsite and no one ever tried to mess with him. Why? Because of the food, and he has some background power. He knew everyone at everywhere. Was the buddy with very high ranking officer across the country. One call from him could end or skyrocket your career. We had one unwritten rule. No unannounced drills for the kitchen staff or the conscripts helping during serving and preparation times, so the meals would not be interrupted. We had our drills as well, sure, but they were always scheduled short after breakfast or late in the afternoon after lunch. Meet the cast: MS, Master Sergeant, LTD, Officer of the Day, and me, TK475, the mutated Escalope. The Officer of the Day was a freshman, Greenhorn, first week at our camp. A lieutenant right from college. Entitled piece of... No one liked him from the start. So we were prepping lunch for round about 900 people. 15 minutes until lunchtime. Just a regular day. Nothing fancy, and everything went smooth so far. The buffet was set up all ready to go. We filled up all food stations when the Officer for the Day stormed into our kitchen. ABC alert! ABC alert! For US, CBRN or NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical attack. Master Sergeant, confused. Eh? What's going on, Lieutenant? Did I stutter, or are you idiot deaf? I said, screaming right into Master Sergeant's face, ABC alert! Master Sergeant took a step back. Sir, yes sir! ABC alert! Roger that! He points towards me and the other chefs. Okay boys, you heard the lieutenant. We are under attack by an undefined atomer, biological or chemical threat. The Officer for the Day was grinning like a spoiled little child, seeing the old man bow before His Highness. Master Sergeant rushes over to the gigantic tilting pans. Kitchen crew, attention! All the food is contaminated and can't be served. Then he began throwing all the food on the ground. We were shocked for a second, but followed his command ASAP. 900 meals, including salads and desserts, went in seconds to the ground or in the gutters. The Officer for the Day was shocked like a deer in a headlight. He couldn't say a word. He didn't even try to stop us. Or I didn't notice. After the carnage was done, Master Sergeant went to the Officer for the Day and gave him the deadliest stare I've ever seen, and whispers with his old but deep voice, Be careful who you call an idiot. You didn't say that this was a drill, or did you? We are maybe just the kitchen staff, but we are soldiers like you. We are trained to follow orders, react instantly, and not here to question anything. Now, officer, tell me, what do we serve for lunch today? The officer went pale and left without a word. The Master Sergeant went to his office and informed the Major about what happened. Lunch was instantly delayed for the entire camp, and we gave out 900 meals ready to eat for the day. Ew. Me and the other kitchen staff got questioned about this incident the next day, but we never saw this Officer for the Day again. You sure you want to see the manager? I work at a local restaurant as a waitress. This kid, probably 20 years old, and says he's filled out an application. We were pretty busy and it was very obvious. Full outdoor patio was filled and it was 2 PM in the summer in a touristy town. I had some downtime since my tables were all good, and I tell him I can give it to a manager. He says he wants to see the manager, introduce himself, and give him the application in person. As I'm about to explain that we are kind of busy at the moment, and it would be better for him to either come back during the week / less busy time, or to just let me put it on his desk. A co-worker comes up and hugs the kid. They apparently went to high school together. He explains that he wants to apply and asks to see the manager. My co-worker says that she's a little busy, but it was good to see him. They should catch up, etc. The kid then turns to me and says he can wait for me to get the manager. I finally ask if he's sure and that he may be a little busy. He says he doesn't mind waiting until he's not busy, but then folds his arms and takes a Karen stance of, "I'm waiting." I then quickly walk throughout the restaurant trying to find the manager. Some of my co-workers in the kitchen kinda annoyed since they are very busy and didn't want to be bothered by me asking, "Have you seen the manager?" I finally find the manager in the back of the kitchen, helping cut onions and other fixings. He sometimes works in the kitchen when they need help / are understaffed. I can see he's very busy. He has a giant bowl next to him full of uncut tomatoes, onions, etc. I approach him and the conversation goes like this. "Hey Phil, there's someone with an application who wants to see a manager. Tell him to leave it on Margaret's desk." He says he wants to deliver it in person. And yes, I used air quotes. Fine then. The manager stops what he's doing and is obviously very annoyed. He comes out of the kitchen and heads towards the front and the kid is still there. Side note, the manager can be a bit intimidating, especially when he's stressed, but he's the best. Shout out to you, manager. The manager also looks very annoyed and he's walking very fast towards the front, still wearing his dirty apron and gloves. The manager takes off one of his gloves, shakes the kid's hand, the kid introduces himself. And I go back to check on my tables. A few minutes later, I come back towards the host stand to see if any of my co-workers need help. I hear the kid talking about his work ethic, previous job experience, how he enjoyed the food at the restaurant, how he knew some of the servers there already, etc. He seemed a little full of himself, to be honest. The manager finally interrupts him and says, "Okay, thanks for dropping this off. I gotta get back to the kitchen now." The kid thanks him and the kid leaves. The manager takes one look at the application and then turns to me and says, "This kid is never getting hired here. Comes here and feels the need to interrupt us on a nice day during this lunch rush. Idiot." The manager then tears the application in half, then quarters, and then a few more times and throws it out. He rolls his eyes and walks back to the kitchen. The co-worker who knew the kid is also standing near me and sees the whole thing. I turn to her and tell her that her friend isn't getting hired. She shrugs and chuckles and goes back to what she was doing. Surprisingly, this happened again this past weekend, but I wasn't there to see it. I was at my tables and wasn't paying attention to anyone else really, which is what made me think of this story. Moral of the story, don't bother managers when their place of business is obviously very busy and you want to impress them. If that guy was like that, I can only imagine what would happen if he tried to apply to the military job from the previous story. You don't trust me to run the department? Okay. Many years ago, I worked my way up in a company and founded a development department. I was an hourly employee, and let's say I started at 10 but made 15 now. I helped hire for a position in a lateral department. Let's call the new hire A. A was either insecure in her position because of being new, or condescending that I had worked my way up rather than come in with qualifications like her. I took a long vacation every late summer, and A was tasked with keeping one of my ongoing development projects afloat while I was gone. I came back to her having hired several people without me, including one for my role within the project. I expressed my concerns to my boss, who said to roll with it because A had already hired the people and that if I needed the hours, I could fulfill the lower role at the lower pay rate, $10. Well, the person A hired showed up completely unprepared and A was nowhere to be found and unhelpful on the phone. I ended up training the new staff. I mentioned this to my boss and she bumps my hourly wage back up to $15, and I also expressed my concern that A didn't train anyone, especially on financials. Boss tells A to fix it. A tells me I get to do all the back end work and new hire will be the face but new hire doesn't get any training and no one is clear on what A meant by the role. A then complains to me that the project is pulling in too many pledges and not enough donations. A wants weekly reports from me too, instead of sending them to the boss. Okay, I send them to her and boss. I give the workers additional training and guidance, and when the numbers still don't shift, I tally up all the workers' totals and see that most workers get several donations but maybe one pledge a night, but new hire gets almost all pledges. I bring this up gently to new hire, and a week later there's still no change. All of this goes in the report. We fire for performance, and new hire would normally have been fired by now. Every time I bring that up, A writes a long email saying I'm biased against her and new hire, and copies my boss. I talk to my boss and say that A is making it hard to do the job with the amount of oversight she's putting in. It seems that she would rather run the project. Boss gives me the green light to offer A the project and wash my hands of it. I write A back, saying that if she feels I'm not fulfilling this role properly, I'm happy to step down and let her run it while I was away. I didn't think A would take me up on it because there's a lot of work. But A does. Okay, no sweat. I've got other projects coming in from boss now. Other staff keeps asking me questions about the old project because things are going undone or going missing. Sensitive information isn't being handled properly, etc. Workers aren't being paid on time and start quitting. Within 2 weeks of A's leadership, the entire project fails. She left me alone after that. That sounds like she's got a terrible boss to me. Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like on it and subscribe if you aren't already, but thank you so much for watching and I'll see you very soon.